Welcome back in part 3 of the kitchen remodel. Thought I'd go in a little more detail on preparing and painting the doors for the cabinets. The first and most important thing you need to do is clean them. And for us here, it's a 3-step process. The first step, and by the way, this is the last 8 that I have to do. The first step is using a good degreaser, and we use crud cutter, to get the gross grease off, because I mean, after 20 some odd years sitting in the kitchen and cooking, you get a layer of, even if you can't feel it, but there's a layer, especially on the tops here and the bottoms, depending on where they are. You get a layer of some greasy, dusty stuff. All right, that's step number 1. I went out in the porch yesterday and did all 8 of them. The second step is to use TSP. Yes, I know it's a degreaser cleaner, but now this cleans even more. It goes a little deeper and adds another layer of cleanliness before you start painting the cabinet doors. This is actually a TSP substitute. I can't find any difference between this and regular TSP. It seems to work great. So TSP is next, wiping down, of course, and then because I've set up this thing as a spray booth, I just dropped the rags on the paper towels and rags on the floor. The third step is you have to give the paint something to bite to. And instead of sanding, I'm using Clean Strip liquid sandpaper. This deglosses the surface even more and etches the surface slightly to have the primer and the paint take a better bite. It works great. I'm really pleased with this. It's not one of those caustic things that's going to burn your hands. You can use it barehanded, just wash your hands afterwards. So Clean Strip liquid sandpaper. So crud cutter first, clean the gross grease off. TSP substitute to get even more cleanliness deeper in, and then degloss liquid sandpaper to go ahead and kind of etch to pieces to take the paint. So let me get started on cleaning all these up, then we'll go into the spraying process. Well, first I got to prime them, and since we're using bin primer, that's just brush on, and it goes on very quickly and dries very quickly. And then the important part is the spraying and making a nice even coat with the spray. So let me get it cleaned up, get it primed, and then we'll go into some spraying. Priming is done. I'm going to start spraying in a moment. The sprayer, I'll do a deep dive review in this later, is a HomeRite Finish Max Super. I can't remember off the top of my head which YouTube channel. I think it was Shop Nation, I'm not sure, that recommended this gun, and it works really well. It's considered an airless paint sprayer, but when I say airless, I mean it does not have a paint pump in it. It forces air into the canister for the paint, forcing the paint down and up the dip tube and out the nozzle. It doesn't spray it out. It basically pressurizes the canister and the paint comes out. I need to put paint in this. I need to take off my really good shirt because I'm not going to paint in that, and start spraying. It plugs in, by the way, because it's electric. And if you saw the little promo, the opening sequence in this video, I didn't do what you're supposed to do, is have your air hose or your power cord over your shoulder when you're painting. And that is to keep it from, obviously, from falling into the paint and making marks. Bad thing. So let's get some paint in this thing and get to spraying. I'll do a couple of shots of this, of me doing this. Oh, a tip. If you have a lot of these cabinets and you've marked them with numbers, mark the numbers inside the socket for the hinge like I did here, and then put a piece of tape over it so it doesn't get painted over. So you always know which one that, where each one goes in sequence in your kitchen. So, with that said, let's get some paint, get the shirt off, and I'll do some spraying on camera, and then I'll continue on to finish these off. Well, now, this is where I am now. We are. The doors are all up. The dishwasher is running. The lower cabinets are done. You see the little green tapes, a couple of touch-up spots I got to do. Now, I'm getting ready to install the knobs. Let me show you a little issue I ran into when I made a jig to install the knobs. First try, I made a jig to where this would butt up against the corner and the bottom of the door, and the hole would be drilled in the middle of the stile, right there. Didn't work out very well. What I mean was, none of these stiles are the same around the kitchen. They're all slightly different. The first one I did, I drilled it in and it worked out pretty well, but when I put this one up to this one, the center is off by 1/8 of an inch this way. And this way, this one, the center is off by 1/8 of an inch or a little more that way. So they're all different, slightly. So this jig didn't work. So I made another jig. I measured the width of the raised portion of the stile right here. Cut a piece of wood, actually drew it up, cut a piece of wood that actually matched that. I've got a little line, you can't see it on camera, I don't think, here and here, where the height of the knob is, which is right in line with this portion of the raised panel. So what I now do is I'll clamp this piece up to that line, so this half hole that I've drilled through here meets that that line. Clamp it in place with a backing plate and use that to guide the drill bit straight through. A little bit more finicky, but unfortunately that's what I had to do. So now I'm going to go on and put all of the rest of the knobs in place. So I'll show you one. You see the little, I drilled that hole through the piece of wood, then sliced it off on the chop saw, so I've got a little channel to run the drill bit in. I've got it set up, clamped with a backer board, and this is in the center of the stile. So now I just take my drill bit, and that's that. Declamp. And now, get it out of camera. Don't want to drop it. Haven't tightened it down, but there it is. It's centered here and it's centered here, and they're all going to look like that all the way around the kitchen. Like I said, you can really set your kitchen off, change the entire look of it just by changing the hardware. But we've done, of course, a lot more than that. So onward to the rest of the knobs, and then we'll talk about the handles for the drawers. Now on to the drawer pulls. We're using these shell-style drawer pulls. You actually index the holes to the center of the drawer because the holes, tapped holes for the handle, are in the middle of the shell from top to bottom. So when you mount that, it really looks, it's centered on the drawer. To drill those holes, what I've done is put a piece of tape here, mark the center, top to bottom, side to side of the drawer. I've used this in a previous video, this little jig that allows you to line everything up and drill holes correctly. It's got a center inch mark here, and I just attached the drawer pulls to this, and it got the right distance, set it all up, and tightened everything up. And it sits on top of the drawer like this, and I line it up on that center with a little notch down here, right here. And then, of course, everything requires a clamp. So I clamp it in, I just give it a little snug here, so it's fixed to the drawer now, it's not going to move. And I have a piece of wood somewhere around here I'm using as a backer block to back it up as I drill the holes. This is not one of the multi-tens of dollars one. I bought this off of Amazon. I think I paid under $20 for it, maybe a little over $20 for it. Was it perfect? No. Did I have to make some adjustments? Yes. I had to shim this side to side, but I'm that kind of person. I just usually fix things before I send them back if I can. Let's get the drill. Drill the holes. Notice as I was drilling that, I wanted to get the swarf out, chips out as much as possible, so I got a very clean hole. Then disconnect, pull the tape, clean off the swarfies, and then take a screw, put it through the back, and start it. And this has 2 mounting hole locations. I'm using the outer ones. In other words, it has 4 holes in the back, and you have your choice of the closer spaced ones or the further away spaced ones. And I'm using the closer ones. Somewhere I have a little stubby screwdriver so I can get in there and tighten this up. And of course the drawer is full of all our stuff we use for the cooking and the stuff and the things. So that's all in the way. So let's get those out of the way. Tighten it up. There. Nice. And that is 1 down, 2 down. I did the one over here, this one. And I've got 4 more to go. So that's how the handles go in. Yay! Let's get back to the magnets. Remember earlier video I put magnets, I pointed them out in the back of the doors. This is what I was talking about. This is the outside with a rare earth magnet and a knob, wooden knob. And it just sits right on the cabinet like that. It'll hold, I think, 4 or 5 sheets of paper. So whenever I'm cooking or have notes up here, I can just stick them up there, have the recipe up there, the notes up there, whatever, and they'll stay. So it's better to have them down here or spreading around and getting all kinds of food and crap on them. So they're sitting up here out of harm's way. Magnets. Give it a shot. A couple little side projects part of it. First of all, the paint we used was a bare enamel, cabinet and trim enamel. It's acrylic enamel. The best thing about this stuff is it doesn't maintain a tack like latex does, regular latex does. Regular latex will maintain a tack over a long period of time. You can put weeks, months later, you can put a book down on a piece of something that was painted in latex and it'll stick a little bit, peel it up. This does not. It goes to a hard surface within 2 hours. And it maintains a hard surface and there's no tack to it at all. So every manufacturer, paint manufacturer makes, that I am aware of, makes a cabinet and trim paint. Acrylic latex is what you want to use, or an oil-based paint, but acrylic latex. Now the switch plates, we color keyed the switch plates to the backsplash, painted them blue to match the backsplash. And what we've done with the switch plates in the rest of the kitchen, now the rest of the kitchen walls are now switched from yellow to white. So we painted the switch plates white. Treatment was TSP, scuff with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then I use, for things like this, I use paints that are paint and primer in one. In this case, it's Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. There's a lot of manufacturers that make this. This is not, a sales pitch, but primer and paint in one. Make sure your surface is well prepped and you get good adhesion. When it comes time to match the screws to the switch plates, get a piece of cardboard, punch some holes in it, mount your screws, and paint them. So let's go in and mount some switch plates, and I'm going to show you a little something that makes me twitch. This comes from my boat building days. Good electricians, this makes them twitch as well, and they'll fix it really quick. So back into the kitchen. Switch plate. Switch. Let's mount the switch plate. So what's the part that makes me twitch? And some electricians twitch. Close up. See that? See that? See that? Clock the screws. Up and down. Matches the switch. Clock the screws. I know, it's a weird thing, but clock the screws. Every electrician I've ever worked with in the past, clock the screws. When you're building a boat and you're putting in straight slotted screw fasteners, you clock the fasteners. To run the length of the deck or the cabin sole or whatever, you clock the screws. It's just aesthetically pleasing. I know, it's a little thing. It's a twitchy thing, but I like clock screws. And with that finicky bit, twitchy little thing with switch plates, we'll end the video here. The next video will be hanging the crown molding on all of the cabinets, which, as you know, is a very finicky bit. Crown molding is always finicky. As I stated earlier, we're going to contract out for the countertop. I don't know if they want to be filmed or not. If so, we'll do it. If not, we'll do it before and after. And before they do that, I have to put in the soft close, auto close, whatever, drawer glides for all the drawers, which is not that many. And I want to do that with the old countertop off, because it's easier to get to everything when the countertop is off. So there. So until next time, make great things out of wood.